Hello everyone and a warm welcome to the 11th episode of the Daraxi podcast. I'm really happy that you're here with me today again. And first of all, I want to make a little announcement, and that is that I might not be recording this podcast weekly anymore from now on. That doesn't necessarily mean that I will really follow through on that. It's just that I'm trying to find ways of taking out the pressure on my ADHD self in some aspects of my life. And like one big epiphany in all of that is that if I have to do something, I most likely will not like to do it. Yeah, so it won't be fun because I have to do it. And that's just the way it is. And a lot of like ADHD people can relate to that. So I feel like by taking out the must do, I will regain the joy to do it. And if I'm right in my calculations of myself or in my reflections of myself, it will mean that I will still record it every week. But I just want to free myself of this promise that the podcast has to be released every week, because that just puts a lot of pressure on me that I'm not really willing to take anymore. So yeah, so much to that. And then I'm going to go into a really spicy topic today. And this topic is substances or drugs, as I announced last week. And I think it's kind of funny, the two things I really care about a lot in my life are tattoos and taboos. I strongly believe that if we could get rid of the taboos in our society, and if we could speak more openly about all the things that move us inside, that maybe are considered taboo or need to be hidden, I think that if we would speak about all of this openly, a lot would change. And as far as I can, I want to do that. And the reason why I mentioned to both words is because these are the only two words, as far as I'm aware of, that actually stem from Polynesian culture and that were transported into our Western culture, and it's like names for things. And on the Polynesian islands, the taboo was a place where a god resides. So it was like a sacred place, and you were not allowed to visit it. And so it was a restricted area, and that's where the word comes from. And I just think it's beautiful that the two main things that really concern me in this life both stem from Polynesia. So anyways, that's just regarding the background of all of that. So let's go to today's topic. When in today's episode, I mostly want to cover the topic of drugs in general, so to speak. And when I speak about drugs, now for the moment, I speak about mind-altering drugs. Because of course, sugar is a drug as well. Coffee is a drug. Even tea can be a drug. But I'm talking about substances that are able to alter our consciousness for several hours in a more drastic way. Yeah. And first of all, I want to dive into the topic of we face as much drug abuse as we rarely have, I think, in times of humanity. And most of times it's an escape mechanism, right? No matter if you drink too much or you smoke too much weed, or it normally is an escape mechanism of a certain trauma that we're not able to resolve, or it's an escape mechanism of life in general. And what I want to cover today is that, like, I came in contact with drug abuse a lot. Like, I lost a lot of friends to drugs, be it in contact or because they lost their lives to it. And the main thing for me that I really want to clear or clarify is that this escapism is very natural. This need for escape from a system that is not nurturing, that is not made to fit our needs as human, sensible beings, is very natural. And although I might get hated for this, it's actually healthy. Of course, it's not healthy when it gets to a point of addiction and abuse where the physical body gets ill. But again, like, it is a healthy response to a very ill system. Yeah, so what I observed in drug abusers is those that are most likely to take more than they should are what I consider the wild ones. The wildest ones, those that still feel that beat of the eternal drum in their hearts, those that still feel the call of nature in their veins, those that still feel like they can dream a better future into reality, are usually those that are most likely to end up overdoing certain substances. Yeah. So it's like the more aware you are of the cage you are in this society, the more you look for ways, and that might be super unconsciously, you look for ways to escape this cage. And that's exactly what we do when we take substances. And the reason why I created Enzoilia and the reason why I created Gnothice Auton was that it took me many years to understand that, like, we as humans need states of trance. This is like, it's like the need for air to breathe or the need for water to drink. We need trance states. We need states that are out of our everyday consciousness. It's really healthy for our aura. It's really healthy for our system at large to just once in a while take a step back. Yeah, take a step back into the other world, into the spirit realm, where everything is connected and where you are not in control of everything, where we can let go and we can let the beat of the drum take over our senses and our minds. That's why I believe so many people love to go to raves or clubs and dance all night to disco tunes or techno beats. It's exactly that need for a trance state, like, we go to these raves or we take certain substances because we want to sense adventure. And it's like the only place left where we can actually sense adventure in this very, like, cold and hard world, when we are not connected to a shaman, or like, I even know that people that take ayahuasca as a form of escapism, if we want to put it like that. But if we really want to call it escapism, I really want to take off the negative edge of that word, because I believe it's very healthy. Like, I'm not saying that abusing drugs is healthy. But what I'm saying is feeling like there is more to reality then is shown to us, feeling that call of the wild, of the adventure, like of the adrenaline, and like that's very natural. And somehow, like, everything that happened, let's call it the system, really took everything wild away from us. Everything. Like, you cannot even camp where you want to, at least not in Switzerland. So it's like everything got very restricted. Everything got very much caged into systems and systems of thinking, systems of doing, and systems of being. And this inner urge to take a substance that will alter your mind and will alter your thoughts and emotions and visions and physical sensations for a longer or shorter amount of time, it's a very natural response to what is happening on the outside. Now, the thing is that we don't really serve our people or our tribe that wants to escape the system by killing ourselves with drugs. So, and here I close the loop. Shamanic traveling is a lot like taking drugs. And you can get very good at it. Everybody can. And it's healthy. Like, you can enter trance states without abusing your physical body. They are not as strong. So to achieve those states in meditation or in shamanic traveling, one needs to first do some shadow work to actually be able to sense energy in the body. Because most of us were so traumatized by the system when we grew up that we're not really connected to our physical bodies anymore. And the more we are able to heal our trauma, which can be done by the beat of a drum as well, doesn't need to be talk therapy. The more we sense our bodies, the more we dance ourselves free, the more we move the chi in our bodies, the more we are able to really sense what's happening when we are traveling. And it's like the most beautiful trance states, like the most beautiful states of bliss I've ever encountered were absolutely without any substance. It was just me and my drum, or me and my body dancing to a drum. And what's the most beautiful thing about these experiences is that they stay with you. When you have these kind of experiences on drugs or on a festival on drugs, you will remember that you had it, but you will not necessarily be able to recall it in its full bliss state. And those bliss states I had when I danced or I drummed, they are with me wherever I go. I can recall them on a physical level. And I think they are stronger than anything that substance-induced stuff can do, because I did it. I didn't need anything external to do it. I didn't have to ingest anything. And it actually connects me more to my body instead of disconnecting me more from my body. Because that's what we can say about all substances in general, no matter if they are psychedelic or not, is that there is a certain disconnection to the physical body happening. And it's necessary to have certain effects or to be able to perceive more. Like, even ayahuasca has that. Like, after you get purged, I didn't really feel that much of my body anymore. But because it's an earthy thing and it's plant medicine and it's not synthetic, it still had a deeper effect. I remember that more than other trips I had. But yeah, like no matter the substance, normally, like I have to go a little bit into detail about what I put out there as an archetype to understand the universe. Like, since a very long time, I can't really pin down when it started. I have this like understanding of the world, and when I talk to people, they pointed out that this understanding was really helpful to them. And so I wrote a book about it. It's called Being Human, a Travel Guide. And I don't claim that it's necessarily the truth. What I claim is that I put out this story of archetypes that helps us understand what's going on within us. And so the story of archetypes that I wrote includes the aura and the 4 bodies that build the aura, plus the 5th element in the picture, which is the chi, or I'd say the mist of the soul that travels through that aura. Now, first of all, there is the physical body. Now, I don't have to explain much about the physical body, I guess. The way I perceive it, there is like a layer around the physical body, which is the emotional body. And I put colors to the archetypes, and I also put elements to the archetypes, so it's easier to understand how they function. So the physical body is the earth element. Then comes the emotional body, which is the water element. Then the next layer, because your aura is around, like, if you stretch out your arms on both sides, that's like the size of the ball that is around you. That's your aura, if it's like a healthy aura. If you have like a very widespread aura, because it's very thin and very spread out, that's a trauma response, and then we work on that when we do shamanic work. Or if your aura is very tight, then there's also something. But if it's a healthy aura, it will spread like your arm's width on both sides, and it's like a bubble around you. Yeah, on front, back, both sides. So the next layer would be the mental body, would be the fire element. And the most outer layer is the astral body. It's the body of visions, and it's the element of air. And then we have the element of spirit, which actually is like in the center of your body, is your koyopa or your kundalini, like let's say your soul energy. And from this energy emanates, let's say, mist, like energetic mist, and this is the chi that flows through your bodies. And the reason why I formed all of the bodies like the physical body on the cover of the book is because in the end, the physical body is the anchor for the whole aura. So you could even look at the mental body, which is the thought body, and the emotional body, which is the feeling body, and the astral body, which is the visionary body. They are all parts of your brain. Yeah? Like, I'm no brain physicist, but somebody explained to me that the way I put it in the book is exactly how these regions work in the brain. Yeah, and that's what I was aiming for. So that's just like, so you understand what's going on here. And I strongly believe that, our brain and our heart have a beat. And this beat creates a field. And this field is our aura. So this field kind of emanates out of our brain. Yeah, and this doesn't mean that it originates in matter. Yeah, because the brain itself doesn't originate in matter. It originates in chi. But that's topic for another day. So let's stay focused here. So the brain kind of emanates all of this on the outside, but of course it's happening within you. That's why all the bodies have the form of the physical body on the book cover. So, when we take drugs, what happens in the brain is that depending on the substance we ingest, one part of the brain gets more chi than the others. Yeah? Now, that's very easy to point down. Like LSD and like psychedelic substances normally put the focus on the astral body and the visions. Yeah? MDMA puts the focus or most chi on the emotional body. Then cocaine puts the most focus on the mental body. And depending on which substance attracts you the most, that's where you that's actually always where you want to heal something. Yeah? So, like, a lot of people take LSD because they look for inspiration, and that's actually not the worst way to go, because it will enhance the chi that flows in this area of the brain, or as I call it, the astral body, and more information can be taken in. Now, we all know that everybody that ingests psychedelics says that it's very much about the integration process as well. And here we are at the point why I guess every substance can have a healing effect as long as it's taken very focused on one point and one issue, and then it gets integrated well. Because, like, we all got traumatized in one way or another by the system, be it social system, be it a family system, be it a political system. And what this did is that these parts in our brains, they don't communicate as well anymore. Yeah? With most humans, the mental part of the brain takes up a very large amount of all the things that the brain has to do. And the feeling part and the visionary part, and even, as I said before, the physical, the sensible part, they are more in the background. And so I believe that when we have depression or anything like that, it's actually because there is too much fire in our system. There is too much thinking in our system. And the system, or the thinking, it burns everything down. And now you see why I compare it to fire. So we want to escape that, and this burning down inside can feel like total anxiety all the time. Very self-critical thinking all the time, judging oneself, looking for mistakes everywhere. This is like an overactive mental body that needs to be calmed down immediately, because it will burn the whole house down. And with the archetypes I developed, you can really look at where is the imbalance within me, where are my elements not in balance? Because we know that microcosm is macrocosm, so of course we contain all elements within us, but maybe they are more on a metaphysical level than on a physical level. So what I'm pointing at is that when I take a substance like LSD to get inspiration, and I understand that that means that maybe my astral body is not as well connected to the other bodies in my aura and in my brain, then I can consciously work on connecting the astral body without the LSD. So I strongly believe that if we feel like we have to take substances, it's always worth to look at why am I doing it, and what is it helping me, or where is it helping me, or where is it giving me a crutch that I feel like I can't do it on my own. Like people that drink a lot of alcohol mostly have issues with relaxing in the evening and also with socializing because they have a lot of anxiety. Yeah, so, and in my experience, like when we ingest substances and we want to stop, usually the thought behind it is, I want to go away from the substance. So it's an against movement. Yeah, let's say I'm addicted to cocaine and I want to I want to get sober. I want to be free from my cocaine addiction. If I fight the cocaine addiction, I still fight the part of myself that sees a benefit in being addicted to cocaine, because there are a lot of benefits. Like this society is so capitalistic and so superficial that for a very sensitive person or being, cocaine can feel like a real remedy. Or if you have ADHD and you don't get the right medication, cocaine can really like take off the symptoms a lot. So a lot of people are, and I talk about cocaine because it's very crazy how many people in Switzerland are addicted to cocaine. So when we take cocaine, it actually makes us be more efficient and less sensitive. And that's exactly what the system here wants us to be. So it's an easy way out. And most people that are addicted to it don't even understand why they are taking it. They just fell into it. And I think almost everyone I know blames themselves for their addiction. And that's what I want to take out. It's like you are self-medicating. So that means there is an imbalance, and it's okay to not feel okay in this system because this system is not okay. We are not rats and we are kept like rats in cages. It's not natural. So not feeling at home here is very natural response. But then destroying our bodies as a response to that, I learned, or Spirit taught me, that that's just not the way to go. Like, if we really want to change the world for ourselves, for our children, for the future, first of all, we have to start to stop self-destruct. And when we want to stop doing something, it's best to not focus on what we want to get rid of, but what we want to invite instead. Yeah? So, like I take cocaine again as an example. There are several layers to an addiction. First of all, there is the physical layer. So at some point you will really start to like to take powder in through your nose. And that's a habit, like with smoking. You like to take something up to your lips and kind of suck at it. So first of all, it's good to take something that replaces that's less harmful. Yeah, a friend of mine showed me green tea leaf powder. And it has this like kind of awakening effect like green tea has as well, but it's super natural and it doesn't harm your nose or anything. So that's a good thing to kind of like put into the picture. Or another thing really is look at how do you feel before you take a substance and look at how you feel afterwards. What does it make better? And then you will understand a lot of what is not in balance within you. And it's not about getting rid of the addiction, which is a con. So I'm against my addiction. I'm against that part of me that behaves like that. And this is more conflict. It's more disconnection. We don't want that. In healing, we want everything but disconnection. So, when I look at, like I have like this mind that is very unsteady and has like all these self-critical thoughts, and when I take my line of cocaine in the morning, I suddenly feel good about myself. Then there is a lot like maybe trauma that got internalized or old stories that need to get like cleaned out of your system. And there is just like the mental body might be a bit overwhelmed that it's time for more feeling. Yeah? And here comes the thing that mostly like if we end up in abusive cycles with substances, mostly in the beginning they helped with something, but then they do the total opposite, yeah? Because sometimes it can be good to rationalize something and get away from the emotions of something, but if you do it all the time then, you will really starve the emotional body of expression and of chi, you will starve the astral body of chi, you will starve the physical body of chi, so all the chi is even more resided in the mental body, which actually needed help in the first place. So that's why going there and understanding, okay, maybe I need a place where I can learn how to feel is a good way to start that. And not necessarily focusing on stopping the addiction. You know, like, because when we just stop with the addiction, we will always stay addicted. We didn't find peace with that part of ourselves that was addicted in the first place. And I think the people that really got away from addiction and are not triggered by the substance anymore that they were once addicted to really found peace with the part within themselves that was addicted in the first place. And unless you really make peace with that part, the addiction will always be somewhere around the corner, or it will like go somewhere else. Because it's always like, actually you're doing your best. This part of you that's addicted actually helps itself the best way it knows how. And it's not about beating that part up. It's about understanding, hey, maybe we find a better way to do that. And that's where, for me, shamanic traveling came in, and trance states came in, and meditation came in. Because, okay, why don't we soothe our mind with a relaxation technique for now? Why don't we do that instead of going back to the old behavior? Yeah? And, slowly but surely, things will ease. And it will all become more quiet inside. Because, any kind of excessive behavior of a human being, no matter in which kind, is always a cry for help from the inside. And it's not a cry for help towards the outside necessarily, but a cry from the inside towards oneself. Whenever we overdo things, it's like we can also be addicted to adrenaline, yeah? And again, I believe that especially these kind, when we want to go out and we don't want to know what happens during the night or how the substances will kick in or whatever, that's also adrenaline. That's also like this very primal experiences that we just don't really have anymore. I also believe that people that just drive way too fast when nobody sees them, so there's nobody to impress, are really looking for adrenaline. Because, I heard that in a podcast recently that we, are out of the caveman stage for a very short amount of human time on Earth. So our brains are literally still cavemanish. And there were so many more real dangers. And so there was real adrenaline. There was a lot of dopamine because you did everything by yourself. We were in tune with nature. And I believe living closer to nature than we do right now in Western society would actually solve a lot of all the mental issues we have. Because that's another taboo I want to talk about in another episode. But next time I want to go further into the substance subject, maybe even couple it with the mental health thing. But I strongly believe that if you would live more wildly, more raw, we would have way less mental health issues, even health issues in general. And not only because our food would be more healthy, but because the things we do, we are designed, although we still don't believe it, but we are designed to live in tune with nature. We are designed to be in symbiosis with nature. Some of the tribes that still live that way, like the Shipibo show that very clearly. And then we also don't have a lot of issues, or at least not to that extent that we have it right here, right now. So yeah, I think I'm gonna finish with this podcast for today here. I really hope you got some idea on how I perceive all of this. And just a disclaimer, of course, I'm not pro taking substances. I'm not against taking substances. I'm Switzerland. I'm neutral. No, just don't take this episode as oh yeah, I need to take drugs to balance myself. That's the total opposite of what I wanted to say. It's if you already do any of that stuff, maybe you now got a little bit of insight why you are doing it and how you could help yourself. You can also text me and I will reply happily and help you however I can. If I can, and otherwise I will refer you to people that can. But to me, it's very important to point out that my main thing is that we can do all of that and we can reach way further away galaxies and way crazier experiences when we learn how to go into trance, how to shamanically travel, how to actually connect to the other world. Because I strongly believe that this need for changing or altering our minds is actually the need for connecting to the other world. Now, most of us think that the other world is where the dead people live, but it's also where the unborn people live. It's where everybody lives that doesn't have a body at the moment. So it's a crowded place, and it's a beautiful place, and a lot of funky things happen there. And we can go there, but the more we ingest substances, the less we can go there. And that's the crazy thing. And I'm not talking about master plans here. I'm talking about like the more we teach our brain that it can only go there when we ingest certain substances, the harder it will be to train the brain to get there without the substances. Yeah. So we look for one thing, and by grasping for it, we actually more and more lose our connection to it. So switching that to shamanically travel, going into trance states, and learn to surf the inner waves, learn to explore the inner worlds, which are the outer worlds as well, has so many benefits. And to me, it's really the way to go. And you can start with that for free with Gnodia Seaton by just traveling into your aura and looking at your body. And if that's not funny enough for you or funky enough for you, I will find another riser that you might like. You just text me and I will find one. So yeah. And I have to say also here that, of course, these things do not have the same effects in strength. Like when I have a trance experience, it's very strong, but it's not as strong as when I ingest a substance. The thing is, it lasts longer. So when a substance might be like, like you have this one impact and it's super strong, but it's not lasting for a long time. The other impact is much finer, but it lasts for a way longer time. So in strength, they are the same. In power, they are the same. It's just how the strength is diluted in the system is different. And that's why it feels boring. The more our brain is used to really high highs and really low lows due to substance abuse or substance use, the more boring it will feel in the beginning to just do it with trance and with meditation. It will grow stronger, but it takes more time because all of the drugs, as I said before, kind of disconnect you a little bit from your physical body, which is needed also for the reason that the physical body stores everything. So sometimes the chi has to be taken out a little bit to go back in, and then the new information, like, okay, I have to talk further, I realize. Like, for example, when we do therapy with MDMA, what's happening is that the chi focuses on the emotional body. And when that means that there is still a lot of life force in all the other bodies, but it's mainly focused on the emotional body. That's why then people can talk more freely about things that they maybe stuffed down or they didn't even consciously remember. And the body kind of stored a lot of the related emotions that were felt when that was happening in the past and that weren't able to be expressed or processed. So I'm sorry, the construction work has started again. So it's important to kind of disconnect a little bit from the physical body, because then the emotional body can heal. It can find a new perspective. It can really let everything out that happened. And then when the chi flows through all the bodies again, when the MDMA wears off, it transports this information of a healed story, because in the end it was a story that wasn't healed on an emotional level. The chi flows back into all bodies, also the physical body, and can spread the information of being healed everywhere. Yeah? So that's why it's important that some substances disconnect a little bit from the physical body. It's the same with LSD. It disconnects a little bit from the physical body, puts a lot of chi in the astral body, a little bit in the mental body. So you can have a lot of ideas and inspiration that can actually take place on the physical plane. And then once the LSD wears off, it comes down, like unless you microdose, wears down, you get all this chi flows into, all the inspiration flows into the physical body and in all the other bodies, so it can be processed there, and then it can lead to a new creation. So it's important that substances sometimes disconnect a little bit from the physical body, but the more we do that, it always depends on what we want to do here again. If I want to connect more deeply and take a substance, it will most likely have a beneficial effect, and I most likely will not abuse it. If I take the substance to disconnect more deeply, to not find peace, but to rather get rid of something, the more likely I will get really addicted to the substance and will start to abuse it. Now that's put in very simple terms here, of course. But yeah, I think that's a good end to this episode. And I thank you very, very much for listening. I hope this was interesting to you. If you want to share your experiences or have some questions, please feel free to contact me. And yeah, I hope to hear you again next week, and I wish you a lovely weekend ahead. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.